Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It's on December 30, it's at 9 degrees of Capricorn, also Mars is retrograde and moving back to make that second opposition to Pluto. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. So this new moon is the second new moon of the month, and that's traditionally called the black moon. And this is in Capricorn, and it's very close to the end of the year, and so it's a perfect time to assess how far you've come and where you're heading. This is Capricorn energy, which is very achievement oriented, but Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn means you can be very hard on yourself. Additionally, in this chart, we have quite a few aspects that have a bit of friction with them. And so there are some semi-squares, and a semi-square is one of those energies where you have to do a little bit more than you want to do. So it's kind of like when you get settled in the sofa and then your beverage is like out of reach. So you have to get up and get that. And then you get settled again and now the remote is out of reach. So everything takes a little bit more effort. There's also some sesquiquadrates. Sesquiquadrate is where you win something, but you have all of the added responsibility that comes with it. So it's kind of like if, like a big example would be that someone you don't know well passes away and you inherit, yay, but you also are the executor, so you have to take care of all the paperwork, the taxes, you have to pay all the bills, etc. And then finally you get this reward. And then there's quite a few inconjuncts, and an inconjunct is two energies that are very different from each other. And so this is kind of like on that day that you really, really want to eat dessert and go snorkeling. It's just the two things can't be done at the same time. And as I said before, this black moon is ruled by Saturn, and so during Saturn time, you can be really hard on yourself, and so you want to really access that power of the word yet. And this is an idea from Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, which I've mentioned on this channel before. In one of her studies, instead of having teachers write an F when a child failed on a test, they wrote not an A yet. And the kids, over the course of that semester, outperformed anything they had done before. And then also Mars is retrograde and it's moving to make the second opposition to Pluto. The first one was at critical degrees, and this was around the time of the election in the United States. The second one's going to be on January 2nd, and this energy is going to be Leo and Aquarius. And so now we have the sense of identity or ego involved. So when we look at world events or the things going on in your own life, be aware that everyone's ego is going to be more sensitive, and that is sensitive to slights, to crossing lines, or even being dared. So someone might act erratically because they've been called chicken. So in the run-up to January 2nd, you may hear some very loud voices in the world. There may be some real saber rattling or missiles flying. And it's all because someone felt that they got a raw deal, or something was unfair, or that the other party crossed the line. So in your own life, you want to be aware that when you're dealing with people who have sensitive egos, to be a little bit careful with them during this time, especially if this is a partner, your boss, or if you are interacting with authority figures. Now, on the other hand, this transit is fantastic for getting things done. You can feel courageous and energized. You can run up a hill and plant your flag. So you really want to utilize this energy because it can make you brave and help you do things that you wouldn't have dared before. And of course, if you want help interpreting these transits, or if you want to know what's ahead for you in 2025, I do readings. There is a link in the description. Also, if you would like a PDF copy of your chart so you can follow along on these videos more easily, that's a free service I offer. There is a link in the description. And then finally, I have a personalized Pluto report that I'm offering, and that is 13 to 14 pages about what is happening for you with Pluto over the next 3 years. And so with Pluto in Aquarius, a lot of people have been asking me how that's going to affect them personally. There's a link to that in the description. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this new moon falls in your house of career and reputation and how you are seen by the world. And so that may be on your mind as you're looking ahead at 2025. Now, your sign ruler, Mars, is the one involved in this big opposition that's going to happen, which means that you are empowered now to take action. The interesting thing is that currently there's no aspect going on between the Sun and Mars, although there's a hidden aspect that I'll talk about in a second. But with no actual clear aspect, sometimes it can feel like there's a disconnect between what you want to do and what you actually do. So that's kind of like saying, I'm going to sit down and do my resume, and instead you go bowling. And maybe you're a professional bowler, and so that's great, but if you're not, that's not helping you move forward with your career. Now, the hidden aspect is that Mars is in Leo, which is ruled by that Sun, which is part of the new moon. So you do have that ability to focus and find what it is that you need to do. And with that opposition to Pluto, you can do courageous things that are way outside your comfort zone that could give you a breakthrough when it comes to your career and reputation. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, that Mars-Sun hidden aspect is in play, and that means that there is an opportunity for you to meet someone new for a love relationship over this next 2 weeks. Now, as you go out into the world, you are more noticeable because the Sun is elevated in your chart. And so this is the energy that just could give you that push to talk to someone you're interested in or to continue a conversation with someone who's talking to you. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an inconjunct to Mars, but it's out of sign. So you are more out of sync or out of step than usual. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to negatively affect the relationship, but if there is some point of contention that you need to work out, recognize that you're not really understanding each other. That's probably the heart of the problem, is that you're defining the same words differently or you're not listening to each other. But otherwise, being out of step temporarily like this, it's okay because it's going to right itself pretty quickly. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Venus, which is in this area of community and networking and reaching out to friends and people that you know, but also 1 or 2 steps beyond that in the 6 degrees of separation. So this is a time where you can make more money through networking, through checking in with your friends and saying, do you know someone who would be interested? Or doing some professional networking, maybe through LinkedIn or through groups in your community. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile with Pluto. This indicates that the money needs some sort of paperwork done or some small things done, things that you've been putting off. Perhaps this is just going into your accounts and reallocating funds or moving money from place to place. This may be some small glitches in your website or something that is minor enough that you've pushed it aside, but it is a source of money for you, and then you can make more if you deal with this. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be a paycheck, Venus is making a square to Uranus. You have the Sun elevated in your chart. It's in the area of career. Your Mars, your sign ruler, is very active. So this is a very good time to be pursuing more money or a different job that will bring you more money, talking to your supervisor about what you can do to move up in the company. Everything points to this is a time to take action. Okay, Taurus, this new moon is falling in this area that represents travel, legal matters, your education, also your beliefs, and it's making a semi-square to Venus, which is your sign ruler. And so right now, things are just a little bit irritating. It is just irritating enough that you don't necessarily want to do the things that are going to lead to the outcome you want. Like you might look at a pile of legal papers and think, this is just too much. I just don't want to deal with it. Or dealing with, airline reservations or homework or things like that. But if you push, you'll find that it's actually going to be okay. I mean, things right now, they're not going to be super easy. They're not going to be super hard. It's just enough to be irritating. If you can get past the emotion of the irritation, you'll be just fine. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Venus. So there's not the energy there for making the connection that you're looking for. And since Venus is in Aquarius and it's your sign ruler, it would be an idea to start changing things up. And that means take the time and rewrite your profile or get new pictures up on your dating profile. Start going to new places or join some different groups. So doing something different can stimulate the energy, and then when it lines up over these next few weeks and months, then you'll have many opportunities. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out-of-sign semi-sextile to Pluto. This indicates that generally the relationship is okay, but occasionally small things can trip you up, and then lead to an argument, etc. And so this is that one of you is kind of in a rut and the other person may be trying to control a situation or trying to push the other person in a new direction. And of course, the solution is if we will make the change, then the other person almost seems to miraculously change. So it's whatever you're looking for. If you can do that change, then you could see that change happen in your partner. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Mercury, which is in Sagittarius, and now moving forward, perfect time for collecting new information, for signing contracts, for looking at expanding your business or expanding your career by gaining skills or degrees or any of these types of, tangibles that you can put on your resume. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from investments, Mercury's making that it's just finally getting past that opposition to Jupiter. It's going to still be in mutual reception for a little bit, so you've got some very strong energy, but the time is running out where the opportunities could really flow in, and so it's really time to push. And because, with that Mars-Pluto opposition, which is actually hitting career areas for you, it's really a good time to step out of your comfort zone and push for the sale, push for the opportunity, push for the collaboration or the partnership, because you've got this Mercury-Jupiter mutual reception and opposition. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. So right now, it's possible that something already occurred because there was an aspect before, and we're at the end of the year now. But if this hasn't happened right now because there's no aspect, it's a little hard to get it going. So you may have to wait until January to get things moving in the direction you want. Okay, Gemini, this new moon is falling in your area of resources from others. That can be anything from advice, expert help, to actual cash. And yet your chart ruler or your sign ruler, Mercury, is actually sitting behind that energy, kind of like it hasn't made a decision yet, like you haven't decided whether to move forward in a certain direction. You have lots of options, but you haven't chosen a path. And so you may want to actually start writing down what it is your options are, or start journaling, or do a meditation, or ask some friends about different ideas that you have to see which one to start with. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is elevated in your chart and Mercury's in a house of relationships, they're not making an aspect, and so it's like two ships passing in the night. Unless you're with a friend who, kicks you in the shins and says, hey, that person just asked you out, it's hard for you to recognize when love is right there. So when that's the case, it's better to focus on other things because this aspect will line up in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making that opposition to Jupiter as well as the mutual reception. And so you do have, again, as I've been saying for a while, you still have a lot of harmony going on in this relationship, which it means that if it's not peaceful at home, you have opportunities to work it out and get it to a peaceful place. But remember that this is the tail end of this energy, and so this is something you do want to work on because Mercury is going to move on, and then you're going to be missing this opposition. You'll still have the mutual reception for a little bit, but not much longer. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the moon, which is in your area of resources. It's in Capricorn. It's doing a semi-square to Venus, and so there's this mindset that you can be and that resources are scarce. And yes, in the world, resources are, well, I shouldn't say yes, because resources are abundant. They're just not distributed very well these days. But that doesn't mean that you're cut off from resources. It is more important than ever to focus on all the different options there are for resources that you can get, because with this ruler of your money in your area of resources, you have more access right now, and you've got that for at least the next 2 weeks. You want to grab it because this is a big opportunity for you. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's making a very nice sextile to Saturn, which is that there is opportunities for money and profits in these areas. A sextile means you have to take the action. If you don't, you're just going to sleep through the energy and then you'll miss it. But if you look for it, you will see the opportunity, and then you just need to take action, and it's yours. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, there is a different story, and that is there's no aspect going on between the moon and Mars, and so this may not be the right time to be asking for a raise. If something is already in play, then by all means lean in, because you do have good energy around resources. But it may be that it's less about increasing the paycheck and more about giving you some perks, maybe about working at home or better insurance or stock options or things like that. Okay, Cancer. This new moon falls in your house of relationships, partnerships, and collaboration. And because it's in Capricorn, you are now at the halfway point of your lunar year. So now you're going to enter about 3 months of harvest period. And that means that you are harvesting the energy that you've been growing for the last 6 months. So when you look back on your year and the friendships that you've cultivated, the relationships that you've formed, those things now have an opportunity to benefit you. This is also true in other areas too, family relations, connections at work. So this is a time where you get to call in the favors and get more because of all of the hard work you've been doing over the last 6 months. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Pluto, the moon is right in that relationship house and lighting it up, making it obvious that you're there, you're available, and so you just want to be out in the world. You want to tell your friends that you want to meet someone. If you're interested in engaging a matchmaker, this is a time to do it. So as you put yourself out there, you're going to have opportunities. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a nice sextile with Saturn, which gives you an opportunity to work together on projects, to push forward towards a goal, to work out differences that you have. The opportunities here are about really taking responsibility for each other and both of you giving to make the two of you a stronger couple. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the sun, which is sitting in your house of relationships, partnerships, and collaboration. And Mars is in your house of money. And it's just there for a little while longer. It's going to back out and go into your own sign. And then it's going to, when it goes direct in February, I think it's towards the end of February, then it's going to move forward and go into your house of money again. And so you do have some interesting energy right now, because when Mars is in the second house, it puts your focus on money and making money, and unfortunately spending money. That can be very strong during this time too. When it gets back into your own sign, you personally get more energy and you can be more assertive, which is exactly what you need with the sun sitting there in that house of relationships and partnerships, to be assertive, asking for what you want, connecting to the people you want to get to know, and seeing if they're interested in working with you. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus. And as I talked about in the opening, the sesquiquadrate energy is like winning something, but then having the responsibilities and the work that is attached to that. So it's kind of like, yay, you got a publishing contract, but now you have to write the book. Or you got a music deal, but now you have to produce the album. So as you lean into the responsibilities that come up, you get the rewards. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, the sun's making a semi-square to Venus. And that means that there's an opportunity to make more money at your job, but you're not wanting necessarily to take the effort it takes to do it, because it's uncomfortable. And so if you're willing to push beyond being comfortable, if you will get out of your comfort zone, you could make more money, you could get more recognition, maybe more help. So there are benefits, but it can be that you're uncomfortable about it, or you feel your boss is not going to be happy that you mention it. And so getting past that is what can do at this time. I should point out that this energy will line up better in the future. Okay, Leo, this new moon falls in your area of work, health, and daily routine. And it is making that hidden aspect to Mars, which is in your own sign of Leo. So Leo is ruled by the sun, and that's why it's a hidden aspect. There's no obvious connection between these two planets. And so what the energy is it is time to look at your routines and see if you are doing things to your benefit. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you working around people and finding ways to cooperate with people? All that time while Mars is in Leo is, the Mars in Leo is like, I'm the king, get out of my way, do what I say. And so there is this sort of friction going on between, your current circumstances and what you want to do. And it's hard to find a compromise because this is kind of inconjunct energy. So the thing to do is to be mindful and aware that sometimes you get to be king and say, all right, I'm going to be in charge of my health and my well-being, and so I'm going to eat right and exercise, instead of saying, okay, I'm the king of everything, so I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And the same thing at work, not running roughshod over people, but saying, I'm a leader and I'm going to take charge. And then you take charge and you lead, but be a benevolent king when you do. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making an inconjunct to Jupiter, which in a love relationship situation could mean that you meet someone who's very different than you've ever gone out with. They could be a very different age or from a different country, or their upbringing was so very different than your own. And so this could be kind of interesting for you. So because that energy exists, you want to take advantage of it and meet this new person. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus, and that Mars-Pluto opposition is happening in your sign. And so that can be that if there is some sort of issue between the two of you, it could really rise up during this 2-week period. And that is because someone's ego was slighted or crushed, or that someone got their feelings hurt, or they felt misunderstood and not heard. And it could be you, it could be your partner, but and you may say to yourself, okay, well, then I'm going to walk on eggshells, but you have Mars in Leo, so that's more like walking on eggshells in combat boots. So this would be, you have to kind of face it head on, but really look for ways that there can be a win-win. Look for ways to understand each other and connect and compromise, and then you can become a stronger couple. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury in Sagittarius, which says collect a lot of information. It's making that interesting trine to Chiron. And so this indicates that maybe in the past you had some issues around school, or you had a bad experience with a teacher, and you're not really sure if you want to get serious about learning something new that could help your business or your career, give you new skills. So this is something that you can actively heal at this time by finding the type of way to get the information that appeals to you, whether that's audio or a video or a live class or a tutor. So this is a time to look at any issues that you have with collecting new information and gaining new skills and heal the issue. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, but Neptune's still in a money house. So there are some opportunities here, but they're a little bit farther down the road outside the 2-week period. This is more about now having a vision of where you're heading. And when you do that, then you're going the right direction. And so you think about what it is you want and the steps it's going to take to get there. And then you just apply yourself to the steps. That's the way to get to your goal. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's a paycheck, Mercury is already past the opposition to Jupiter. It's still an orb, but it is separating. It's also past that square to Saturn. So hopefully you already got the raise. If you did not, then you're going to have to wait until Mercury lines up, which it will in the future, but it's just outside this 2-week period. Okay, Virgo, this new moon is lighting up your area of risk-taking and fun and adventure and romance. And yet the new moon is not making an aspect to your sign ruler, Mercury, and so, which is sitting in your area of home and family. And so the energy is a little bit like, I'll go have fun after I do my chores. I will go take the risks that I want to do and do the creative things that I want to do after I help everybody else, everybody in the family. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect here between taking care of yourself and where that is in the order of taking care of people. So when you're looking at this, consider that you may have to say no to somebody at home so that you can go do the things that you've been wanting to do. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a square to Saturn. Saturn's in a relationship house. That means that you have an opportunity to meet someone for a very serious relationship, and that could happen, that could start during this 2-week period. So if there's someone that you want to meet, I should point out too that new moon is lighting up the area of romance for you. So this is a really good time to make a push to meeting new people or going to have that first date that you've been waiting to have. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. And so there is a little bit of a disconnect between the two of you, and that's okay. When Neptune's still in a relationship house, it's going to be there for a while. Mercury's in your area of home and family. So in general, you're both there and present. You don't have the energy right now to work out problems or to take on some big project. So this is more just sitting side by side on the sofa and enjoying the evening. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of routines and work, and it's going to be leaving this house pretty soon. And so if there's still things that you need to put into place, like you're building your website, or you are designing a logo, or you are getting your list together so that you can do some calls, like anything that you need to do that's that kind of spreadsheet sort of work, That's what you need to get done as soon as possible, because pretty soon this Venus is going to leave this house. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out of sign in conjunct with Mars, which is kind of like a real wild pivot. Like you've never invested in bonds before and suddenly you're very interested in bonds, or you are, and I'm not recommending bonds, so, but it's just a surprising pivot. And so in business, suddenly you start offering, beach volleyball lessons when you're an accountant. It's something that you're going to try. It seems a little wacky. There's a guy I listen to. He does a lot of work on negotiations. Chris Voss, I've recommended his books before, and he suddenly started advertising bourbon. And so that's what I mean. It's like a complete pivot. That's the energy that you're doing. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Venus is making a semi-square to the moon. That means that even though you want the raise, it feels like it's a lot of work to go get the raise. It's hard to get the boss to, sit down for a meeting or to agree. The boss seems irritated that you're bringing it up. It's just everybody's a little bit grumpy about it. Now, you could push through this, or you could wait, because this energy will line up better in the future. Okay, Libra, this new moon falls right at the base of your chart, lighting up your area of home and family, and it's making a semi-square to your sign ruler Venus, which is in your area of fun and risk-taking and creativity and adventure, romance. And so it is kind of saying that, once you get things done and settled at home, go out, have fun, meet new people, do something that's different, and be creative. The things that you have been working on, those are great, but now it's time also to put in some fun. So, because sometimes when we have chores, they can just expand to take up all the time. So this is finish quickly, move on to something that is more interesting. When it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, and speaking of interesting, Venus is making a square to Uranus. So this is an opportunity to meet someone who's quite different than you've met before. This could be bumping into them literally, or you both put your hand on the same doorknob or something like that. So you could run into someone, you could show up at a party you weren't expecting to go to and meet someone. So there is an opportunity to meet someone new over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out of sign in conjunct with Mars. So that means that the two of you are a little bit disconnected right now, in such a way that you won't necessarily understand what each other is needing or wanting. So in a normal inconjunct, it's like you're speaking two different languages. But because this is out of sign, there is like something that could translate it in the middle. And so if you can just realize that you don't actually know what it is your partner's upset about, and if they would do the same with you, you could get to a win-win on whatever matter is the point of contention. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from both Pluto and Mars, which are again back doing an opposition. This is the second of 3 oppositions. This is such a strong time for you for making money. This is a time to be bold, to be confident, to really push forward, to step out of your comfort zone and go get the deal, or ask for the partnership, start the business. You may have already begun this because we already had the first opposition, but this one, the second opposition, if you were kind of losing steam, this could bring it up again, and so you can power through. So you have such strong energy, you don't want to miss it. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out of sign semi-sextile with Pluto. And that means that there are some small things that you need to work out, and then the money can flow in. Like, make sure your website is up. Make sure that the email you're looking for is not in your spam file. Look for the smaller things that are holding up, like there's a couple of rocks in the pipe, and if you remove those, then the water flows. And That's what you're looking for. What is impeding the flow? Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's a paycheck, the sun is not making an aspect with Pluto. It's making a hidden aspect with Mars because Mars is in Leo and that is ruled by the sun. So you have an aspect. There is something going on, but remember that Mars-Pluto opposition also is figuring prominently in this house. And so there's this energy of that you may say, I absolutely need this raise, and if not, I'm quitting. And so before you say that, it would be good to have that other job lined up. So it's quite possible that you could get the raise because there is an aspect, but you may push so hard that the whole thing comes loose and then you end up getting another job, which you probably will make more money in that new job. Okay, Scorpio, this new moon is lighting up your area of thinking process, how your mind works out problems, as well as activities you might be doing. And this, your sign ruler, Pluto, is right at the base of your chart now in Aquarius. And so the focus may be right now on how can I declutter my mind and my life? And so this may be a time where you're starting to go through things at home, maybe letting go of stuff in attics and basements, or that you are looking at your thinking process and saying, all right, I keep thinking the same thoughts and nothing's changing. Maybe I should let go of these thoughts so I can have new thoughts. And so you can do some very powerful, important work during this 2-week period as you let go of things. Sometimes thoughts are attached to it, memories, and those go too, and that can be very cathartic as well. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have that out of sign sextile between Pluto and Neptune, but also Mars is making an out of sign trine with Neptune. So you have a little bit more positive energy right now for finding love, and Mars is quite elevated in your chart, making you more visible. So this is a really good time to consider getting out in the world, going to some parties, some social gatherings, and meeting some new people because love could be there. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out of sign semi-sextile to Pluto, which is, in general, I think that your relationship's going okay, but there is a little bit of things that maybe your partner does or maybe you do, and you're irritated by it. And so that irritation is not enough to maybe cause some big ruckus, but the thing that you're irritated by, your partner either doesn't know that they're doing or they don't realize it's irritating you. So this is something where a little bit of communication might help, but more so you might just want to try not to feel irritated and just wait until this aspect lines up better, which it will in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Jupiter, which is just finishing up this opposition and mutual reception with Mercury. So you're still in that very positive energy. So there are lots of opportunities. Jupiter is in Gemini now for a few more months, and that means that it may be time to look at what's working in your life and double down on it. It's something that, if you know you're going the right direction, you can push down on that accelerator pedal and really go for it. And so during this time where you still have a little bit of that opposition, mutual reception in money houses, this may be a time to push forward on what is working. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, this Mercury-Jupiter dynamic is in play and it is separating. That means that the luck that you have been experiencing, that's starting to wane now. So, and maybe some of your enthusiasm, some of the great contacts you've been making, these are starting to get a little bit more tenuous. So you really want to push so that you can use every last bite of this positive energy. So, because you could make more money over this next 2 weeks, you just don't want to sleep through this. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck. So again, that energy that has been bringing you luck is starting to dissipate. So if you've already started your negotiations for your raise, make sure that you can get that conversation going as we get towards the end of the year. and also and into the new year, the first 2 weeks of the new year, and also to keep up the conversation about where you want to go with your career so that new opportunities can open up early next year. Okay, Sagittarius, this new moon is lighting up your area of resources, money, well, specifically money, possessions, but also your sense of self-worth and how you feel you deserve what's coming into your life. This is all making an inconjunct to your sign ruler Jupiter in your house of partnerships, relationships, and collaborations. And so the energy here is, it's time to go do something a little bit bold, a little bit radical, a little bit adventurous, which is right in your wheelhouse, something that would surprise your friends. And so you already may have a reputation of taking bold action, and so this is where you would go a little bit more. If you want to really capitalize on this energy, you would do something that even surprises yourself. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Jupiter's not making an aspect with Mars, Jupiter's in a relationship house. Mars is your most elevated planet, so you're quite visible right now. This gives you an opportunity to meet someone new. Now, you may be in circumstances, though, where you weren't thinking about love, and so it's easy to miss the person. But if you're with someone, they'll probably elbow you and say, hey, that person was checking you out, they've just asked you out, or something like that. And then you'll say, oh, yes, that's what's going on here. But it's you have good energy here, but because there's no aspect, you have to pay attention because you could miss it. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is moving on from that opposition to your sign ruler Jupiter, and that means that this whole T-square thing with Saturn that you've been dealing with is starting to dissipate. You still have some residual energy because of the mutual reception between Mercury and Jupiter. So there's opportunities here to connect more deeply with your partner, but they are starting to fade. And so this is like maybe you came together, you really worked out something, but now, like you have other things to do. And so you may be leaning towards a routine that is not helping the two of you stay close together, but this is still an aspect. There's still the mutual reception going on. So this is a time to really cement together the bond that you have created over the last few weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which was making that square to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter was probably encouraging you to make a big push, to expand. And now, as it separates, now you're coming back to what is stable, where can you consolidate? So this would be kind of like you say, okay, well, I'm going to study all of these different topics, and now you've dabbled a little bit in each one. Now is the time to say these 3 are the most important, and then prioritize the rest or discard the rest because they're just not important. So this is a time to look at the things you're doing to make money and consolidate on what's really working. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's making a wonderful sextile to Saturn, so there's so many opportunities now for you to make money. The new moon is in that house, and a sextile means you just need to take action and you can make more money than you usually do. So make sure that you take the action, because otherwise you will miss the opportunity. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, but you have such a strong money chart right now, you still could get an increase, a bonus, something, but your boss may be a little surprised because it's not really on their mind. So you may have to ease them into this, or you may have to chase them down because perhaps they're on their way out of town, or they just got back from vacation, and so they may feel like they don't really have their mindset there, but you can get more money if you make the effort. Okay, Capricorn, this is your new moon, and this starts your lunar year. So over the next 4 weeks, you want to try all kinds of new things, because the more seeds you plant, then the bigger the harvest you'll have in 6 months. So this is a time to meet new people, look into new business ideas, and to see what directions you want to go. Now, this is making a sextile to your own sign ruler Saturn in your area of communication, and so you may want to write down your goals or affirmations. You may want to sit down with a close friend or family member and talk about what you want for the future and see, if they have some ideas or if they just say this is a good idea. And so the energy now is very much about planting seeds so that you have that big harvest in the future. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, the area for relationships is lit up for you. So the only issue is that you may be there and someone notices you and asks you out, but you don't realize that they're asking you out because your head's elsewhere. So if you are out and about and you are generally looking for love, pay attention, or have a friend kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, that person's interested. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making that sextile to Saturn. So the two of you have more harmony during this time. That means the relationship is easier, that there's opportunities to do maybe fun things together or just to feel more comfortable with each other. So you really want to take these opportunities to be around each other because it can help strengthen the relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which is no longer in that T-square, which is good. Or at least it's separating. And also Uranus, which is in your area of risk-taking and adventure and self-expression, and it's doing that square to Venus. And so it's time to look for something new, something that would be interesting, something that you're just starting to plant the seeds about, maybe learning the little bit about it just to get your hands into it a little bit to see if it's going to be something that could grow into something in the future. So this is a time to look around and say, what is new that I'm doing? And if you don't find something, to go find something that is innovative and different to do. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus. And it's kind of a reminder that when you have more money, there is more responsibilities and there is more work. You have to pay attention to it. And you can't just necessarily turn it over to a money manager and just, dust off your hands and walk away. You have to kind of keep an eye on it, and maybe a bird's eye view depending on how much of a nest egg you have. If it's a small egg, you want to make sure that it's well guarded. And so this is just a reminder that your money grows because you're paying attention to it. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Saturn's making a semi-square to Pluto. And so there is an aspect, it is one that pulls you out of your comfort zone, maybe to ask for the raise, maybe to ask in a different way. Your boss may not be expecting this, and so you may have to ease them into this, or get over the fact that they're uncomfortable about the conversation as you are. And so, but there's a reward for the semi-square, and that is if once you get past that irritation, one, it no longer irritates you anymore, and two, the treasure is there. Okay, Aquarius, this new moon is lighting up your area of psychic ability, intuition, spirituality, also escapes, and anything where you're trying to be part of the greater universe. And this is making a sesquiquadrate to your sign ruler, Uranus, which is sitting at the base of your chart and is about home and family. And so it may be that you are exploring ideas that are not accepted by everyone at home or your extended family. And so you may be going through changes, a metamorphosis, and your family may not understand. Or there could be things that they're doing and they're changing, and you've been in this, psychic spiritual stuff for a long time, and now they're going off in a different direction. And so this can be a little bit difficult. It's interesting because a sesquiquadrate still can find a win, but there is a little bit of work on each side. And so that's the kind of energy that you're doing right now. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making an inconjunct to Uranus. So you can meet someone. it's interesting because I think it's going to be a surprise. It's like someone quite different than you've met before, or you meet them in an unexpected place, or it's kind of like you might have like meet somebody online dating and then think, I don't know, and then run into them at the coffee shop and think, wow, they're a totally different person. So it's something like that. Something unusual is going to happen, and that could bring love into your life. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making that sesquiquadrate to Uranus that we were just talking about. So not just your family, but with your partner, it may be necessary for the both of you to work towards the win, because there are some differences going on there. You're growing in different directions, which could be good because then you're collecting new skills and new experiences to come together to be a stronger couple, or you grow apart and you don't really want to do that. So this is something where you have to work to figure out how their, scuba underwater basket weaving helps your accounting business, or vice versa. I should have given you the underwater basket weaving. You're the Aquarian. Now, when it comes to your money, you pulled money from the Neptune as well as the Jupiter that's been in this T-square with Mercury and Saturn. That T-square is starting to pull apart, but you still have some energy here. And the focal point of this T-square is the Saturn in your house of money. And this says it's time to do your money right, like to take the steps necessary to know how much you have in debt, how much you have in assets, where are your assets, are they working for you, what kind of fees are they charging. Things like that can help you then build a solid foundation on which to grow. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. However, it is with Jupiter. It's still in that opposition, and they're still in mutual reception. But like I said, this whole T-square is it's getting wider, and so it's going to basically break apart, and you won't have access to this energy. You'll get different energy in the future, but you won't have access to this energy much longer. So you want to take whatever action it is about your business or investments. You want to take that while you still have this good energy. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's a paycheck, Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune, but because Neptune is in Pisces, there's a hidden aspect because Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter. So they're still talking together, and that's kind of what's going on here. For getting a raise at your job is just keep the conversation going, continue to talk to your supervisor about what the upper management's looking for, what they're looking for. And so because this is still good energy, you're going to have this energy for quite a while. So this conversation can be long or short. It's up to you. But, like how much you push. But it's, if you don't feel like pushing, just keep the conversation going. Okay, Pisces, this new moon is lighting up your area of friendships and community, but also technology and the future, your hopes and wishes for what's going to happen. And when we look at the two planets that rule your sign, Neptune's not making an aspect to this new moon, but you are doing the inconjunct from Jupiter to the new moon. And I know it's an inconjunct. And an inconjunct is very much about adjusting your path. So that is, if for quite a while you have not been going out and meeting new people or going out networking, it's time to pivot and start doing that. Or perhaps you have shied away from learning some new technology now. Again, it's time to change directions and try a new path. This is super important when it comes to your hopes and wishes for the future, because you may have still been recycling the same affirmations or wishes year after year, and you're not making the progress that you want. It's time to change it up and look for something different, because that actually could, in a roundabout way, come to your original goal. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect with Neptune, but it is making that aforementioned in conjunct with Jupiter. But in a love situation, that could bring someone quite unexpectedly into your life, like bumping into them literally, or seeing the same person in two different places and saying, "Oh, I remember you from the dry cleaner." Or that you're meeting someone who's quite different than you normally go out with. But there is an aspect here, and so there is some positive energy for meeting someone new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Neptune. However, Mercury and Jupiter are still in mutual reception. That opposition is starting to fade. But there's still quite a bit for the two of you to connect over, and that can help strengthen the relationship. Maybe the big sort of energy is past, but you can still, have the connection strengthened by just hanging out with each other, supporting each other, caring about each other. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Mars, which is retrograde in Leo right now, and it's going to go back into Cancer. So for the beginning of this energy, what you really want to do is make sure that your systems are in place, that the work is done. So that is when it comes to your money, like, getting the accounts set up or getting the website done, like doing those daily things. And then as it goes back into Cancer, into your area of risk-taking and adventure and creativity, that's where you want to then do the push, because now you've got the paperwork done. Now you can say, all right, this is my comfort zone. How can I step out of that and go do something that is more bold, more exciting, and can yield bigger results? Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mars is making an out of sign in conjunct with Venus. And so this is, generally an in conjunct is where two people come together and they have nothing in common. But because this is out of sign, it more feels like an opposition. So there is some common ground. There's a point in the center where you can meet. And so that can aid you in negotiations or signing contracts, things like that. But it's not going to feel like that right at the beginning. It's going to feel like that you're from different planets. And then you suddenly find, you both have husky dogs, or you both ski downhill, or things like that. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be a paycheck, first, the new moon is there, so you have some good energy. And then Mars is making a sesquiquadrate with Saturn. And generally a sesquiquadrate means you win, but you get added responsibility. But since it's with a job, it makes sense. It could be a raise with a promotion, or you get a bigger project or something that's higher profile, and the raise is all connected to that. So you have some very good energy to push forward on getting a raise. If you're looking for a new job, you have some very good energy about securing a new job, especially one that kind of takes your career up a notch. So the energy here is quite good. You don't want to miss this. You want to make the push. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want a free PDF of your chart so you can follow along in these videos, there's a link in the description. If you want to know more about what's ahead for you in 2025, I do readings. There's a link in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.